Hey Mr. Kush, I'm doing my December book video for The House of Hades by Rick Riordan. So this book was the fourth book of the series, and it starts out directly segueing from the third book of the series, The Mark of Athena. So basically it starts out with Percy Jackson and Annabeth. They're following it to Tartarus, which is this big bottomless pit, which isn't really bottomless, but it was always thought to be bottomless, where the monsters go to regenerate after they've been vaporized by a hero in the mortal world. Meanwhile, on the mortal side, Hazel is learning to control the mist, which is this magical substance that makes mortals see non-mystical things, such as the heroes of the Prophecy of Seven. They all fly around in this big bronze ship that Leo had constructed with the help of a bunch of people. Meanwhile, as the mist makes mortals, like regular people, see like, I don't know, a big cloud or a flock of birds or something like that. So she's learning to do that, and they're trying to get to Greece to close the doors of death on the mortal side. Meanwhile, Percy Jackson and Annabeth, they finally land, and they're trying to survive basically because Tartarus is just a terrible place for them. It's the monster's home court. They can barely die. They're constantly at risk of death, and so they're trying to get to the doors of death on the Tartarus side. And then they have to face these things called the Arii, which are these flying lady things that bestow a curse on you every time one is killed. So they have to fight those. They barely win, and they get pretty messed up anyways. But Hypatia, who is helping them through there because he's a nice dude, um, took them to Damson, who was this giant that was born to oppose Ares, who was the war god. So he was pretty much a cool dude. And then he fixes them up and sends it back on their way. Meanwhile, the other heroes that are on the ship in the mortal world, they get boarded by dolphin people led by some guy, and it's really strange. But Leo gets knocked out of commission, and he's nowhere to be found, missing in action, stuff like that. Anyways, yeah, they're both getting closer and closer to their goal, which is closing the doors of death. And finally, they get there. On the mortal side, they have to fight a bunch of monsters and stuff and get through a huge labyrinth in order to get to the doors of death. And at the Tara side, Percy and Annabeth cover themselves in the death mist, which is the stuff that makes them appear dead and the monsters can't actually sense them there. So then there's a big fight that goes on both sides of the doors of death with the monsters in order to get them closed. So basically then they win and they get the doors closed and it's great. And then they're going on to Athens, Greece in order to fight the giants, because that's where they've taken up refuge, in order to put them out of commission once and for all. The theme of this book was really to do stuff and things, and like to know exactly what your part in like a big like group project is in order to in some effect. And this can easily be seen by like they both like Percy and Annabeth could have easily like given up and just died, but they knew that their part in this quest was to get the doors of death closed on that side. So they went through it and went through tons of hardship and struggles in order to accomplish this goal. And that really is what the theme of the book is to know your part of the whole machine, and just to follow it through and make sure it's done to the best of your ability.